We'll be going into communication next. That is our fifth area of key financial governance. And the importance of communication as it relates to financial information is to build trust, credibility, and leadership effectiveness. And we'll start with a question. With whom and how do we communicate our financial information? And we will start with whom. So with whom do we communicate our financial information? The three main groups that we'll discuss today are financial institutions, tribal membership, and tribal finance and/or the CFO. Communication with financial institutions will include any kind of banking or investment firms, and this could be to begin direct deposit for payroll or per capita payments. Maybe you want to secure a loan or start investing, or to manage a minor's trust account. And depending on how your tribe is organized, will depend on how much you personally get involved in some of these processes. But it is something that you could end up getting involved in, especially if you're on the executive committee and you have like paperwork and stuff to fill out then. Once you come onto council for updating the banking information with each of your banks. The next group here is communication with tribal membership. This includes formal and informal communication, with formal being at some of the more formal meetings like tribal council meetings, general council meetings, or internal department meetings within the government. And informal is wherever, at the grocery store, clinic, walking down the street. Elected leaders tend to get stopped everywhere and anywhere they go. So and communication with tribal finance and the CFO and/or the CFO. So as previously discussed, we'd kind of talked about some of these things throughout the presentation. Be open to questions when requesting a report or analysis. Please ask questions if you're not understanding. If you're in a meeting and the CFO is presenting information and you have no idea what the heck they're talking about, please let them know, whether that be during a break, during the meeting, after the meeting. Like, let them know that you're not understanding, because otherwise they'll just go on assuming that everyone's good to go and there's no questions. And if that's not the case, then you're not getting anything out of that presentation. And it's important that you understand what it is they're trying to communicate. Try to approach conversations with curiosity and understanding, not for finding blame. And find out how you can best support your tribal finance department. How do we communicate financial information? So be as transparent as you can. And I have it written specifically like that because there are times when you cannot share everything about a situation or subject. So just be as transparent as you can. Be intentional about the message you want to share. That may include having a plan as far as what method of communication will be used, what information will be shared, and if there's going to be a point of contact designated for that purpose. So you definitely want to know what your policy is on sharing financial information. And that's the first bullet point there. What is your tribe's policy on sharing financial information? For sensitive projects or matters, you may want to discuss amongst council what message you want to share or can share, and with whom that can be shared. Another place you can always look to for information is what information has already been released for public awareness. You can check media releases, press releases, newsletters, and that can also include like a tribal member portal where information may be released for tribal membership. And moving on to some basic tips here on communicating financial information. Try to understand the financial information that you'll be sharing or asked about. Ask questions to get clarity. Be able to communicate a short and accurate statement, and ask your CFO to help create a message that is accurate but simple, to understand, or to help create a visual to help you understand. Let's see. One final thought about communication, and specifically about communication with your CFO or tribal finance. I do believe it is really important to have a good working relationship with your CFO. One reason would be that you want your CFO to feel comfortable bringing legitimate concerns to council, especially if your systems are not set up to already encourage that conversation. And I also think it's really important for tribal finance to have good working relationships with the other department managers and directors as well. So not just with council, but with everybody. Tribal finance does so much work that applies and impacts all the other departments between payroll, paying invoices. There's a lot of things that tribal finance is doing, and I think it's really important that they have good working relationships with the entire organization, just to be effective and to make sure that if there are any concerns and stuff, that those things are getting addressed. And moving on to the next slide. So here is a communication reflection. How could we be more intentional and transparent in our communication with tribal members? How good is the working relationship between council and tribal finance, between other departments and tribal finance? And how can good communication improve those relationships? And again, if you have questions that you come up with later, feel free to reach out to us. Our contact information is out there. Thank you for showing up, and thank you for asking questions. And this concludes the Tribal Finance Essentials virtual crash course.